Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the April 8th, 2024 Franklin Planning Board meeting. This meeting is audio and video recorded. It's also on Zoom, and the Zoom call-in number is 312-626-6799, and the meeting number is 842-642-01224. What we'll do is we'll take care of some general business first, and the first item of business would be a discussion for, excuse me, for 40 Alpine Row. If I could go to Amy for Department of Planning, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The last time they were in front of us was on March 11th, 2024. They were here for change in the color of the facade, and they were also here, the board had concerns about the building height. At the time, they had shown a building height of 46, which in the current zoning district only allows under 40. They've since submitted revised plans that include a building height of 39.5. I know that the board had asked about how the balconies hang over the sidewalk, how far. I do want to note that design review did approve the facade of the building. Thank you.
Balconies included?
Yes.
I just had a question. I'm sure others have some questions. In the note number 2, it says applicant did not make changes to the original color renderings.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't these the most current renderings that we're going to be?
Yeah, yes, from what was originally submitted under the general business.
Okay. All right. So these are what we're still going by, okay?
Yes, those are the
I wanna
ones
make
that,
sure-
the ones in front of you are the ones that are to be approved.
Okay. Just want to make sure it wasn't from the previous ones that were already there, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the applicant here by any chance? No, on Zoom? Okay, well, let's, we'll go to the board first. Does anybody have any questions, comments in reference to 40 Alpine Row?
I am here, actually.
Oh, okay,
I apologize.
yep. Any comments, questions? Sorry? Yep.
Just so the entirety average height is the 39.5, right? That's what we're looking at from your original height, which was 36, 30 foot, what's it? 30 foot 6, sorry, I can't see with my glasses.
46,
46, no, I mean on the original.
no.
The brown building. Is the brown building is what I'm looking at, this rendering I have in front of me, shows the original height at 30 foot 6 and 3/8 of an inch, right? And now the new proposed is 39.5?
The original building was an approved 36-foot building height.
So,
Yeah.
with the
because
penthouse?
with the
Okay.
penthouse,
All
that's
right.
why.
Not with the penthouse, from the mean grade elevation.
Okay, gotcha.
And this 39.5 is to the midline of the roof, correct?
Correct.
That help?
So then all of your mechanical equipment is now going to be inside?
Our mechanical equipment is inside, yes.
Through the chair. It looks like your median grade height is being taken from a higher elevation from the original approved elevations. It's,
Understanding it.
yeah.
Sorry.
So, I just want to understand if the site plan didn't change, which means the contours didn't change, why the median grade would have changed.
The mean grade elevation changed because we had conversations with the civil engineer who did not actually do a field measurement survey. He used a previously done survey, and since that time, he's actually been on site and has done some sort of updated grading, and that's the grade elevation that he gave us as the mean.
I guess what I'm getting at is the way that you position these elevations they're not actually apples to apples in terms of their true elevation, meaning 301.5 on the original approved elevation would actually be different than what the median grade is, so technically that entire building should be lower than what you're showing. So it feels a little bit deceiving intentionally.
What do you mean by that? That's the mean grade elevation that I was given by the civil engineer to use for the building height.
What I'm asking is quite simply, is median grade that you're defining as 301.5 the exact same median grade, meaning the median grade as shown as -6, 5, and 5/8 on the original elevations?
Yes,
Is that
yes, we're
equal
using that as
30
the baseline, yes.
That's 301.5 on the
Yes.
original? Okay, so if these were all to, if these levels were to be relabeled, the level heights would all be starting from 301.5 and then they would be readjusted accordingly.
Correct. I was using the actual grade numbers from that mean grade elevation. So I don't know what their numbers are. Sort of, they're sort of confusing, to be quite honest with you. I quite didn't know what they were. You know, that -6.58 or whatever, something like that. And then it was just very confusing to me how they were sort of going about that calculation.
Yeah, because I can't tell what the 00 is.
Right. So I was using actual, grading elevations from the site.
Sure, which I appreciate. I'm just wondering how that actually compares to how the elevations.
Right. So yeah, I mean the elevation of their mean grade elevation -6'5" and 5/8 is my 301.5. If that's what you're asking, yes.
It is what I'm asking. Thank you for clarifying
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's helpful to see the elevations in comparison to each other, so I appreciate you showing that. I think that from sort of parapet from eave edge and the way that the roof slopes back, it actually will be quite comparable to the original proposed
Yeah, 'cause all your
building from the.
parapets and all your structures.
Right, I mean,
That's what
penthouses
they
are
do.
tough,
Yep.
but yes, so I appreciate that.
Everybody good? Any other questions? And design reviews all set?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the changes for 40 Alpine Row with maximum height of 39'5".
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're all set, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, next item of business would be, looks like we're getting a withdrawal for 240 East Central Street. Amy, what was that anyways? If I
Yeah.
could go to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could just explain, we had an application come in January 17th, 2024 for 240 East Central Street. It was 9 townhouses. At the time, the applicant filed it and asked that we hold off on doing any public hearings. He's since acquired another piece of property and refiled a separate site plan for 2 other properties. So this is more of an administrative thing so that we can put it on record that he has asked to withdraw without prejudice, and he'll be in next month with the new plan.
Okay. Anybody questions? So I make a motion to have 240 East Central Street withdrawn without prejudice. Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Then our next item of business would be a partial Form H for 138 East Central Street. Amy, if we could go to you for a quick review, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yet the planning board approved the site plan at 122, 138 East Central Street on October 23rd, 2023. It's a commercial slash retail building with parking and site improvements. Beta's been out there, and they have submitted the report, for what's been completed. The applicants also provided, outstanding items and when they would be completed.
Mike, DPW, do you have any comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't, Beta was out there to do the inspections for the construction, and together a list of comments and issues.
Good, thank you.
I defer to them.
Is Matt out there? Matt, you out there? He was covering for Gary, wasn't he?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see if he comes up. Anybody from the board have any comments or questions?
Just through the chairman here, I think the site is coming along nicely, and it's like it's being done pretty much in conformance with the plans, and I don't have any issues accepting the Form H with the outstanding items and anything listed in Beta's letter to be reviewed and brought back.
Okay. I had two quick questions, and I don't know if it's been taken care of, that's why I wanted Matt on. Brad, I see you're out there, in the back corner, there was some ponding. Wasn't there supposed to be a landscape infiltration basin or something there to pick up some of that, or has that been completed? If you could, if you want to just introduce yourself for the record, please, too.
Brad Chaffee, owner applicant, 138 East Central Street. Yes, so there is, back there was just a stone trench that we actually had with infiltration. There wasn't any catch basins or anything like that.
But there was supposed to be green space or something there to pick up some of that, or that?
Yep, there is, and we have
Somewhere.
some wildflower and some rutting and stuff that we have to wait till the planting season, which we did do with conservation. So
Okay.
out of the outstanding items, the planting in that area being one of them. Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
okay, so stone will stay, but you'll do additional work in that piece there.
Correct.
Hopefully alleviate that little bit of bonding.
Yep,
Okay.
the stone trench has been completed.
Okay, and I had one other quick question, and it's not a big one. Did we talk about, signage for, maybe there, for the two residences? Is that what I see in the building?
We were asked.
We were
to-
gonna put signs, I think, for just a couple residents in that building?
That's correct. We do have two reserved spot signs per the plan on the actual 122 East Central Street is the address on that. And those are installed.
That's,
Those are those signs.
okay, all right, I
Exactly.
couldn't see it, I thought we talked about it, okay. No, I do appreciate it. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Coming along nice, too.
Thank you.
Good, looking good. In the schedule, you see any issues with some of the materials or the balance of the work? In terms of, back orders of anything?
Not for the size, it's a 1,200 square foot addition, so I think we'll be fine. Our whole goal was really just to get all the parking lot, everything finished, so a front tenant can move in, and our little addition, everything is kind of in the back and away from everyone, so that was our goal to do that, so that's the only work that's left.
Okay. And the boiler's going to the back of your garage, you're not pulling your vehicles in the back of that garage, correct?
Correct, so we have that work that has to do with the oil water separator back there, which
Yeah.
is on the list, and that addition, so that kind of chunk of that work, we're gonna start doing right now.
Okay, okay. Everybody good? Okay, so I make a motion to, approve a partial Form H for 122 to 138 East Central Street.
Second?
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. This would be our next public hearing would be for 6 Forge Parkway. Amy, if you could give us a brief overview, please?
Sure, I think, so they were last in front of us, a few months ago, and we had concerns about the depth of the lot. So we didn't really get a full overview from them because we wanted them to clarify that, which they have provided that. I, included that in my memo, that they've provided the depth of the lot. So really, my comments are kind of general about the outdoor lighting and the open space areas, snow storage, I believe they provided. If there's any proposed signs, which they haven't provided, but there may be. Beta will, I think as a condition is that they would observe the construction of the retaining walls.
Um,
And I know that, Mike provided a letter today, which is probably in front of you guys right now.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's just gonna go to you, Mike, next. If you could give us an overview, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I had a chance to take a look at the plans, just had some general comments. Just noted which permits will be required from DPW as part of the process. There's one comment I had to do with some of the grading work that was shown on the main entrance drive. Looks like it was a grading going onto the adjacent lot, so I just like to see the applicant provide some kind of proof that they have permission from the adjacent property owner, whether an easement or some kind of written permission would be good before, to show that they're allowed to do that. On the proposed curbing, they have it called out as precast concrete. In the past, the board typically requires concrete curb to be reinforced. That wasn't shown in the details, so I just wanted to point that out to the board. They also call out their drainage piping to be HDPE pipe. In the past, the board typically requires reinforced concrete pipe. If they're allowed to use HDPE pipe or they're going to pursue that, they should request a waiver from the board for that. Some information about the retaining walls that being shown on the property. There's 2 of them, and they get into heights of approximately 7 feet in height. It'd be good to see some additional details and a profile of the road of the wall so you can see how it steps down. A couple other minor comments about the utilities, and then one other comment. It looks like their loading ramp into the building has the ramp is so that vehicles can pull to the building. If that's the case, they should just make sure they have a gas trap installed tied to the sewer system, and coordinate with the plumbing inspector on that also.
Okay, good. Actually, is the applicant here?
Yes, we are, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. I just, hang tight for a second.
Okay.
Then I'll go to Matt. Matt, you out there?
I don't think,
Not, no.
Okay. Well, I know Beta had a series of comments, but if the engineer of record would want to maybe summarize some of the comments and questions through Beta and DPW, that'd be great. If you could do that, please. Just introduce yourself too, please.
Good evening. Michael Malinowski with Allen and Major Associates. We're the civil engineers and surveyors for the project. On the line with me, I have Joe Grohegan from Donegal LLC, as well as John Stebbins. They're on the ownership side of the project. I'm going to share my screen. We can see that.
Yep.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a project at Six Forge Parkway that consists of approximately 36,000 square foot warehouse space. There's 2 small sort of support offices to support the warehouse usage. As the DPW director had mentioned, we do have a loading ramp in the back that is screened from the view. I'll get into the oil water separator. That was a comment for Beta. We do have that shown on the updated plans. We have landscaping around the perimeter of the site, along the back edge, on the steeper slopes. We are proposing to do a New England erosion control mix. It's a wildflower mix. We do have some areas that are slightly steeper that would be riprap in this area here. We have 51 parking spaces shown on the property, distributed along the front for the main sort of entrance. We do have some along the side on this area here. We have a driveway connection that ties into and goes across a shared driveway. And I can sort of show you this figure. We'll sort of zoom in here. So there's an existing shared driveway easement that comes across this as an existing driveway. This is the hotel piece property here, and Six Forge Parkway here. That driveway easement is in place. It was in place as part of the original subdivision that created this lot. As Amy had mentioned, we do meet the lot width requirement as shown here. The grading and drainage. We do have a infiltration system being shown in the back of the property here with the discharge to the rear towards the wetlands on the backside. We have filed with conservation and received an RDA from them. Closed drainage system here collects in the front. I'm a little unclear where the DPW director had mentioned about some drainage to off property. Maybe I can get some clarification if we're sort of pointing, but we do have a small collection area here for a bioretention system and infiltration that's provided at this location. Sort of get into water and sewer. We have provided one of the comments relative from Beta was the fact that we could drive in. So we will have some sort of trench drain, interior floor drains in the building to collect that. We have shown a oil water separator being piped before the discharge to the sanitary sewer. Waiver for HDPE pipe. We had provided, I believe it was included in the package. I did not see it in the correspondence. That will be an item that we will request a waiver from the site plan regulations to use HDPE pipe on the property. Wall details, we do have what they call a big block retaining wall that's going along the side. We do show generic details. I know the DPW director had asked for profiles. Typically that would be done as part of the shop drawing as called on our details and the plans that have been submitted. We do call out for these walls to be designed by a Massachusetts structural engineer and the submission of full shop drawings as part of the process. That's when typically the full profile would be generated for those along with stamped calculations for those. If it pleases the board, we could submit a copy of those for the DPW's files when we get to that point. Be happy to, most of the comments, we have provided a formal response letter to Beta. Most of the items, there wasn't anything that was of major concern. We do have, as part of our drainage system, the existing off property, there's an industrial building over on this property here, does have drainage that drains from their property. The entirety of the roof of the building drains onto our property, as well as a good chunk of the driveway, and is sort of discharged. We got a discharge point here and another one here that sort of flowed. The contouring actually takes the flow towards the back of the property and discharges it down in the back. As part of the proposed scenario, we are collecting that and actually running it through a closed drainage system here with a energy dissipating riprap swale here and maintaining the same flow patterns. Per the report that we had submitted to the town and peer reviewed by Beta, we do meet the stormwater criteria for pre versus post peak flow rates. We also have a reduction in overall volume due to infiltration being provided both in the large subsurface system here and the small bioretention system that's along the front driveway that comes in. Be happy to answer any additional questions that the board may have.
Okay, good, thank you. I'll go to the board first. Anybody have any questions, comments? Jen?
Through the chair, could you provide us with a site section in the north-south direction illustrating the relationship of the building to essentially 140? It looks like there's about a 17-foot steep climb from 140 up to where the site flattens out, and then a 36.5 foot tall building. So I just want to understand the visibility from 140 itself. I know what you're proposing is allowable by right. I'm just wondering what the view is and if there's opportunity to, if there might be a need to screen or desire to screen with vegetation. I know it's a tough hill with the riprap, but that's just one of my initial questions or asks, I guess.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Chris? Oh, go ahead, Beth.
Sure. Just looking for a little bit more of maybe elaborating on the common driveway. So you had mentioned that that was something that was considered back when the subdivision was laid out. Maybe this is way far off, but don't we require special permits for shared common driveways?
I'm not sure about that. We can ask Amy.
I think under
I don't wanna
18521,
speak out.
Section F, common driveways. Planning board may allow common driveways serving more than 2 lots on a special permit. Common driveway must satisfy all the conditions as follows. So I guess my question really is has that ever been done, or is it just assuming that common access is okay?
I'll have to look into that.
Okay.
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay. I guess that would be my question, because I know that it came up multiple times in the review letters, and then it also notes in responses to comment that the entrance driveway is 500 feet long before it gets to site development, blah, blah, blah. Fire department for their review, and it says in response, the fire department has reviewed the site plan and provided their comments. I just didn't see their comments unless I missed them. Can we get
No,
those
they're-
comments, what they are?
I didn't see any.
Especially if it's a common
Yep.
driveway. I just want to make sure everybody is okay with the one way in, one way out, and again, if we need a special permit for it. I think those are primarily my questions.
Okay. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also had a couple questions on the driveway. It appears, is it a 30-foot wide drive currently? Is that what it is?
Yes.
That's what it looks like. My concern is just coming in from the street, a left-hand turn, you got a 53-foot tractor trailer, and you have vehicular traffic from the hotel, et cetera, coming out. It seems like an awfully tight left-hand and then immediate right for the trailer to get into the site. So I have some concerns over true side-by-side access in and out of the site if needed at any point in time with the hotel. Additionally, the site itself seemingly looks tight just in the back with tractor-trailer movement. And aside from the dock doors, there doesn't appear to be any trailer parking. And is that something that is needed? Do you have tenants in mind, or has that been thought or contemplated to have some concrete padding for trailer parking on site for current or future use? And then lastly, just hours of operation that are perceived just with the hotel next door. Obviously not a residence, but obviously people sleeping there, staying there, just making sure they're not operating at all hours of the night if the hotel is next door. Those are my primary concerns, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Can you just follow up on those?
Sure.
Following up on what Chris said, maybe some turning.
Turn radiuses?
Would be nice to
Yeah,
show
I
where
have
that can make those turns.
That is something definitely that we can provide. We can show turning movements off of Forge Parkway into the property, as well as trucks coming in and actually positioning in the loading docks.
Definitely want to see a larger scale of that, because it's a very tight corner, especially if you're coming downhill. You want to take a right into
Yeah.
the site. A 50.
Yeah, we can show it both ways. We can show it coming from what would be the east, and then if they came from the west and crossed over.
I would do a big
As
blow
well,
up
so
at
we
that
can-
whole front entrance coming in, because I got a funny feeling
Yep.
it's too small. I'm very familiar with the site, that's why I'm raising it now, along with Chris's. And then, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm
Okay, and then I had a quick question. There's a pretty substantial elevation change between that parking lot where your retaining wall is gonna go. If you can give us, we've been having some situations with retaining walls, so I'm looking for all information up front on the drawings from the structural engineers, so Beta can review it. It can be reviewed on site, and then there's no question of what goes in. DPW can review it as well. Just wanna make sure that T's are crossed and I's are dotted on these lately, okay? And then the letter from the fire department? And Concom still?
They said they had the RDA. Are they filing a notice of intent?
We are not filing a notice of intent. We received the negative determination.
Okay,
Um,
so they're all set with conservation.
Okay. All right. Matt?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah.
My glasses are terrible and I can't read the photometric plan. Can you see? Are we good to go?
Oh, and I can see it, I can't say I can.
And I'm really
I
getting
didn't
old.
flip it over, I didn't see it.
I can't see what the spillage is on here or not, so I don't know if anyone.
No, there should be no spillage over the property line.
Okay, just confirming, because
Yeah.
I'm old and can't see anything. Thank you.
Were you proposing lights on the entryway in if the hotel doesn't have them? Light poles or something?
I don't believe we are.
I
We
would
don't
look
have any
into it
proposed
because
right now.
You have residents in the hotel, and they're coming and going, and if you have little kids or elders coming in and out of there, you definitely want some lighting. You wanna see what that looks like as well. You gotta make it safe to get in and out of the site. It's tucked in behind another building, which makes it even more difficult. Okay, Mark, you have any question?
No, I just had one question about, is the flow of the traffic for the tractor trailers, is that one way in? How do the trucks come out? Do they come out the same way they go in?
Yes, they do. So they would come in sort of along the bottom here. And turn in. There's enough room that they can pull all the way up into this location, back in, and then turn out. That's why this truck apron is so large in the front. It's to allow for maneuverability. When we do the truck turning for this entrance, we'll have figures that show how these vehicles pull in, back in, and then pull out. And it'll all be nice and color coded, so you can get a very clear sense of where the tire tracks are and where the trailers fall.
Because my concern at the top there, that backing in, the way you said, going down that, where that radius is, to back in by that top compactor. That kind of.
Yep.
That looks tight to me, having driven trucks.
Yeah, and even at the lowest section, bottom left corner, you get a pinch point right there. I'd like to see how the two trailers are gonna crisscross each other, coming in off the road. You get some tight quarters there for trailers, especially if
Okay.
they're over the road, it's have fun.
In snow, I mean,
In snow, yeah.
snow.
Was snow storage on that?
I was just gonna say.
There was?
No, there wasn't, but it was asked for by.
Okay, Mike, yeah.
That's right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there is snow storage,
Mhm.
Small
Spots.
in these hatched.
Yeah,
area,
snow storage is shown.
Crosshatch
Okay.
area, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll wait to hear
And
back.
we also do have we also have a note on the plan that if it exceeds the areas, that it's to be trucked off in accordance with DEP rules.
Anybody else have any other questions? What do you think, Amy? Continuation till,
May 6th?
that give you enough time to work out some of the bugs between DPW and, Beta and everything? Turning radiuses, retaining walls?
Yeah, turning
Definitely want
radiuses should be
retaining
relevant.
walls. So if you're gonna go
Okay.
out a little bit longer, that's fine too.
No, I think that'll be fine.
Driveway requirements.
Yeah, and Beth is gonna look into.
Amy.
Excuse me, Amy's gonna look into the common driveway. Yep, okay. So make a motion to continue Six Forge Parkway to May 6th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
public hearing, I guess, 488 and 496 Summer Street, looking to be continued, Amy,
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. They've requested to be continued to May 20th.
May 20th, okay. Okay, I hear a motion to continue to May 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Um, Mr. Chairman, if I just not related to what you just continued, I just want to let you know that Beta did inform me that they are not able to be at this meeting tonight. So
Okay.
they aren't.
Okay.
So just to let you know that there won't be
Most common to
anyone on
everybody.
Zoom. Yeah. Yes, they'll be at the
Okay.
next one.
All right. That's okay,
Mm.
it happens. All right, excuse me, we'll go to our next public hearing, which will be continuation for 100 to 110 East Central Street. Amy, if I could go to you to Department of Planning, please?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. They were in front of us, back on March 11th. Some of the comments that the board had concerns about was to provide the traffic report and peer review. Beta has reviewed the traffic report and has submitted their comments. The board wanted bollards to be added around the patio area, which is the commercial space, which they have provided. The 88 parking should be closer to the commercial space. I know that there's a spot in the back, and then there's also a spot behind 100 East Central Street. That's where they've located their 88 parking spots. And to provide the retaining wall details, which they had provided on the plans. They requested the 2 waivers. And again, recommended has a special condition that Beta would observe the construction of the retaining wall. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Mike with DPW. Mike, if you could.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We haven't had any comments since our last letter, basically just addressed the permits that have been required through DPW, but there were no issues that we saw on the plans. We have no further comments.
Thank you, Mike. Before I go to the board, if you guys, Rick and Brad, if you guys just introduce yourselves for the record, please.
Sure. Brad Chaffee, 110 East Central Street, LLC, owner applicant.
Rick Goodrow with United Consultants. As Amy and Mike had mentioned, at this point, I believe we've addressed all of the comments that were raised by Beta during the initial review and the subsequent follow-up review. We did summarize in our response the comments that we had received from the board, which I believe we've addressed those as well. Brad has had an opportunity to submit the traffic report, which was peer-reviewed by Beta. And I believe the report speaks for itself, that they seem to be satisfied with the traffic report that was prepared. So I think we're in good shape. We'd happy to answer any questions that the board may have. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Before I go, I'll go to the board first, before I go to the public. Anybody have any questions or comments? Reference to 110, 100, 110. Come on, somebody's gonna have something.
I think they've addressed all of our comments.
I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
just think that you heard what we asked for and have
Yeah.
done it, and I don't
Okay.
know as though I have any further comments except for addressing anything that is minorly outstanding with Beta.
And I apologize, I don't have Beta's report in front of me. And they're not here. Did Beta have much or no?
No.
With reference, okay. Okay. Hold on one second. I just had a couple of quick questions. I know we talked originally, there was light spillage. You get that? There was a little bit coming out to the street, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we have asked for a waiver with
Okay.
a small amount of light spillage.
Okay.
Towards the street, there is no light spillage to the abutting properties.
Okay. And the retaining walls, I saw you had that, which is good, thank you. Conservation Commission,
We have received an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission.
okay. HD pipe, light spillage. There's one thing I just wanna make sure that you don't miss on the way through, and I brought it up way back. Just the sequence of operations for the existing parking of the brick building while the drainage system goes in. just make sure you work that out fairly well, because that could be a tricky point for you, is the whole process of things. If that could be, Mike, if that can be part of the, sit-down meeting, construction meeting.
Pre-construction.
Pre-construction.
It's just because it sits right in front of the building, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus the
Basic
retaining
plan.
walls, well, one retaining wall, the other one's.
One wall.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments, questions? So here's the big question, how many units you looking for? Is a waiver. You're looking for 20, special permit. What's the board's feeling?
Mr. Chairman, my honest opinion is that if we don't allow this density in the downtown where it belongs, then we shouldn't be looking at density as an overall concern in the town. This is where it belongs. We're not talking in, large lot upper north or south Franklin. We're talking downtown commercial area. Exactly where we're looking for people to live and walk and utilize our downtown businesses, the trains. So in my opinion, I don't have an issue with the applicant asking for a special permit to allow 10 additional units where 10 are permitted. That's how I feel about it.
Can I ask you a question? You have one affordable on right now?
We have two.
You have two.
I think this is a great project as is. I think the site is appropriate for the density that's being proposed, and they've shown that through
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that too. I think the
context.
direct access to 140 is huge as opposed to coming off of a side street. So the density, I think, for me is not a concern given the direct access.
I apologize, I couldn't remember how many affordables, that's why. But there was one or two in there already. Okay. Mark, any question?
No, it's almost set.
Anybody from the audience? Comments, questions? Anybody on Zoom? No? Okay, what's the feeling? Make a motion. Okay, speak up.
Just one point on that. Do we have outstanding comments that are in Beta's letter that still need to be addressed? And if we close the hearing, are we allowing the applicant to provide any updated plans that need to be?
I thought Beta squared everything up.
Beta only had a few comments that pertain to opinions of the board and the DPW, such as waiver requests, things of that nature.
So
As
no-
far as
no
anything
significant
technical, we've
issues.
addressed
So you'll
everything.
agree with? Okay.
Yeah, well, they left, for instance, a waiver request, they've left that up, they've deferred to the board. Things of that nature.
Okay.
Motion to close the public hearing
Hold
then.
on a second, Mark.
I did see in Beta's report that they needed the easement for the dumpster pad, I guess? You had
That
to
was
get-
addressed.
That was addressed,
In the
okay.
subsequent,
Okay.
in their
In the guardrail?
April 2nd, 2024 letter.
Okay. In the guardrail, it has to be 4 feet and all that for the headlights?
Correct.
Okay. All
We
right.
provided that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll get it squared away, and we'll see you next meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We on for the,
Yeah.
okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, our next hearing is an initial public hearing for 19 Dean Ave. It's a site plan application, special permit. If I could go to Amy to Department of Planning, please.
Make a motion to waive the public hearing reading. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first hearing of a new submittal for 19 Dean Ave. There is currently an existing building there that's used for business. The applicant is proposing to demolish the building and construct 3 residential units and 1 commercial unit. Per the regulations and the size of the lot, they are currently allowed only 1 residential unit and a commercial unit. So they are under here as a special permit from changes that was made to zoning to construct a new building. The building does involve garages that come off the street. They are requesting a waiver for the amount of parking that's required. They required 6 spots. They want to provide 3. The maximum allowed height is 40 feet or 3 stories. They've filed a special permit to exceed the 40 feet. They will need to be required to file with design review. And then additionally, I recommend that they provide some landscaping and lighting plan if there's any lighting on the building.
Okay, good, thank you. This is just gonna be an introduction, whatnot. We're not gonna go too far down the road, but if you could introduce yourselves for the record and could give us a presentation of what you have in front of us.
Good evening. My name is David Jeriff. I'm the owner applicant of 19 Dean Ave. I'm here with Haslam from CHA. And Liz Ranieri has also joined us from Kuthernary for architectural details.
Good evening. For the record again, my name is Hazem Dani. I'm a civil engineer with CHA Consulting. And we're here before the board requesting a site plan approval for the subject property and a special permit to allow for 2 additional units beyond the 1 additional unit allowed for this lot based on the lot area. And we're also requesting a waiver from the parking spaces required. We're required to have 6 parking spaces based on the proposed use. And we are providing 3 parking spaces that will be utilized for the residential use. What we're looking at here is the existing condition plan. I do have 11 by 17s if the board would like to view the plans closer.
I'm good, I get thank you.
So as you can see in the existing condition plan, there's the existing building and lot are pre-existing non-conforming in many aspects, some of which are building setbacks, lot area, lot coverage. So we're trying to do the best that we could to bring the lot up to or into compliance with all applicable codes, zoning code, building code, stormwater regulations. So as mentioned earlier, we are proposing to demolish the existing building that was constructed in 1910. It's a dilapidated commercial building that has 3 commercial units on the first floor and 3 office spaces on the second floor. Currently, the site does not have any stormwater control measures by any means, so the runoff from the site eventually makes it to the right-of-way with no infiltration whatsoever. And there's no parking spaces provided on the existing conditions. I will move to the next slide. So as you can see, we're providing, just gonna move forward a little bit. We're proposing 3 units, unit A, B, and C, and then we have a commercial piece, that is unit D. Unit D will be used mainly for the owner's purposes. I believe he's gonna use it as an office for his business. We are providing 3 garage parking spaces. They're labeled as 1, 2, 3 in circles. They will be accessed directly through Dean Ave. We are proposing a curb cut or 2 curb cuts on Dean Street, Dean Ave, for the purpose of accessing the parking spaces through this area and that area. We will be modifying the striping along Dean Street to accommodate the entrance to the building, and also provide on-site parking spaces that will be utilized for the commercial space. Within the site vicinity, there's ample parking space, public parking spaces within 300 feet for any additional parking that would be needed. And again, we're only looking for 3 parking spaces to comply with the code. Next slide shows the utilities and drainage improvements that we are making to the site. The front half of the building will be slab on grade, and that will allow us to install some underground chambers to allow for infiltration and groundwater recharge. We will be collecting the roof drains internally in the building and then directing it underground. And also in the back, we will be providing pervious pavers, walkways that will be sloped towards a leaching catch basin. The leaching catch basin also provides infiltration and groundwater recharge. We're going to also be providing foundation under drain just because of the existence of the underground infiltration system within the building footprint. So we would like to protect the basement space in the back with the foundation under drain and under slab drains, and then the under slab and the under drain will be connected to the leaching catch basin. We will be connecting to the town's drainage with an overflow pipe. We have provided calculation shows a reduction in the runoff and volumes to Dean Ave. Beta Engineering had a long list of comments on the plans and design. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see them until today, so we'll be addressing them for the next meeting. But we don't see anything that is a deal breaker. We will clarify any questions and provide any additional documentations that are needed. We will be connecting to the city's sewer system with a sewer connection from the building, and also gas and underground electrical. So we have some architectural rendering, and I hope that Liz can see the screen and maybe can explain to us what we're looking at.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, for allowing me to share our team's concept design. First, I'd like to just point out that we did study the context and the surrounding context within close proximity to the site. Our goal for the new proposed mixed-use building at 19 Dean Ave is to fit appropriately within its immediate downtown commercial and residential context. We especially focused on the curved facade of Dean Bank in immediate proximity to the site. The nearby funeral home has a similar form, and these rounded bays have been built throughout New England for over a century and are still very much utilized today. Materiality and color is important to take note of, and the composition of scale of windows from both nearby commercial and residential buildings are important to reflect. If you could go to the precedent slide. I can't see the screen, but I can speak to
I think if
the.
I speak, she will be able to see the screen. Is that how it works?
Maxine?
I can't see the deck, yeah. Oh, perfect. So just looking at these are precedents we look carefully at to think about, how this building should be designed and developed. Historic buildings with rounded bay forms and double hung windows and siding of a shingle scale are definitely forms that we're interested in that echo New England architecture. And given there is a commercial unit at the base, we did include a more contemporary example of that on the upper right. Okay, we can move to the first view. You can see here the existing site and current scale of that building, its base and in profile. And let's go to the first rendering. So this 3-story mixed-use building has a commercial space at the base, parking and entries for the 3 2-story townhouses above on levels 2 and 3. And we've incorporated that rounded bay set adjacent to the rounded corner of Dean Bank's facade on Dean Ave.
Excuse me, I don't
We
mean
go
to
to the-
interrupt, but could you point out where that rounded base is? Because I don't really see it.
Right side.
It's on the opposite corner?
You may see it on the next rendering.
Okay,
You see it on the next rendering.
all right.
You said next rendering?
Yes, next rendering, please. So this view is looking toward the front facade facing Dean Ave, and you can see that complementary form that is mirroring the form of the Dean Bank. And our goal is to create a building that speaks both to the commercial corridor and architecture of Main Street, but also responds to the residential scale buildings on Dean Ave. And the design utilizes appropriate materials that echo surrounding structures, the double hung windows, common to both commercial and residential structures. And then the last view, please. This is the night view at the front-facing facade on Dean Ave, and it can give you a sense of the building's street view by night, how the building will be illuminated, and the scale of that base as it, sits along the sidewalk. The overall aspirations is that this building very much complements the fabric of downtown, but also speaks to the residential neighborhood as we understand it on Dean Ave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, just want to correct the record that we're not requesting a special permit for the building height. There is a note on the plan calls about a special permit for the building height, but that special permit was granted through the Zoning Board of Appeals for a different building. However, when we had multiple conversations with the building commissioner, we were told that we do not need to go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals for additional waivers or variances. So we just wanted to note on the plan that a previous special permit was granted to the site to allow for a building height of 50 feet. But this building height will comply with the maximum building height in the downtown commercial district, which is 40 feet in this case, or 3 stories.
Good, thank you. Okay. I know Beta had some comments and questions. I guess we'll go to the board real quick for some, actually, before we go there, I just want to make sure I have Amy just get this letter from Gino Colucci for record. If we could just submit the letter that he gave for record as well. And then I guess we'll go to the board. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
You go first, Jen.
Thank you for showing the renderings. It would have been, I wish we had those in our packet prior to tonight. It's hard to come prepared, but this is a first hearing. So in terms of the context of the neighborhood, you know, there's residential and then there's downtown commercial and there's nearby buildings and there's, you know, on Main Street, and then there's heading towards the residential part of Dean Ave, and they are not the same, right? And this building would really need to mitigate the transition. In the immediate context, with the exception of Dean, on Main Street, you're in a zone of residential which is primarily gable-facing homes, 2.5 story, essentially. All the third stories are within the roof volume, which, although I appreciate the 3 stories here, is different from the overall scale in context of the rest of the residential buildings on this street. However, I agree the scale of the downtown commercial on Main Street is more typical of sort of the height and flat elevation, if you will, consistent roof line that we see in this building. I think that in the spirit of downtown commercial, what's deceiving about this rendering is there aren't going to be lights on in residential garages at night. It's going to be, you know, a dark part of the Main Street experience. This is zoned downtown commercially. The spirit of the downtown commercial zoning is to activate the street front, and in my opinion, having one tiny corner of the building be for commercial and the rest of it be garages is not in the spirit of activating the street front at all hours of the day, but especially at night. That's what our downtown commercial needs, the parcels that are zoned that. I would love to see more of the spirit of mixed use, which is more commercial at street level and residential above. I agree we need residential downtown, but I think it needs to be done in a way that doesn't compromise the experience on the street. I'm also very concerned about the safety of pedestrians. I walk down here with my kids in strollers, tiny kids on little bikes all the time, and having 3 garages exit directly onto the street with no sight lines because people are parked there all the time. It is just asking, I think, for a dangerous situation. This isn't, you know, downtown Boston where you have like the alerts that go off when a parking garage opens and it alerts pedestrians that somebody's going to cross when a vehicle is going to intersect with the pedestrian experience on the sidewalk. So I have a real issue with the whole first floor of this building from a safety perspective and from a downtown economic development perspective. I think this is the opposite of what the town is looking for in the spirit of mixed use. That is my initial overall. I have more nuanced comments, but I'll pass it on to other members.
We have time coming, all right. Anybody else? Beth?
I can
Sure.
just follow up what Jen is saying. Jen, I appreciate your comment about activating the corridor, and I guess I don't see how that's possible, activating the corridor if the one retail space on the bottom floor is going to be used for the owner's office space. That's not really activating. It's not a commercial space. It's an office space on the main floor. Our hands are really tied in a lot of these areas because they went to ZBA already and got variances for things to allow a building.
How does that, I just generally don't know, how does that
So we don't
work
have,
with the,
they already got a variance to allow height up to 50 feet, which they're not doing according to this, but they also got a variance for, let's see, multiple things.
is that a different
Variance to
project?
construct residential units a half-story above street level, variance to allow usage without off-street parking, special permit to allow the reconstruction of pre-existing non-conforming, variance to allow a building up to 50 feet. So those have already been determined. That's out of our
So that's
hands.
related to this project? I guess I just don't understand. Amy, can you explain it, please?
So, yeah, I can explain. So, they were granted those variances. However, there's other special permits in place that the planning board has regulations on. They were not granted their parking variance. They were not granted to get 3 units, where one's allowed. So, the planning board still has, under their special permit, choices to make, on those, based on those special permits that they've been asking for. So, what the variances are granted, those are granted, but it doesn't mean that anything else that's been filed, the planning board can make a decision on any additional special permits and conditions that they've asked for.
Okay.
Amy, could you clarify then on Beta's comment, or maybe we need Beta to do it? And Chris, I know you sat on the ZBA, maybe you can provide some clarification for us, that granted variance to allow usage without off-street parking. So they didn't get a variance for that, or they did?
My belief was that they did not, and I can look into that.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may. Yeah, we had received a variance for eliminating the parking from the site. However, in this proposal, we're proposing 3 parking spaces. So in this case, we're asking for a waiver from the planning board.
Okay, understood. So if you did receive the variance to allow usage without off-street parking, and there's 3 garages shown, is there any, and this is probably going to not make a lot of people happy, but is there an opportunity to turn those garages into retail space versus using them as parking? And if you already received that variance, then
I'll turn it to the owner for that.
Yeah, so since we took ownership May 31st, we've talked to everyone about it. It was Dean Bank, downtown partnership, people in town hall, and the issue had always been parking. So we went in as tastefully as we could to try to provide parking. I'm personally fine with retail space. I'd prefer that, but the issue at hand had always been, we were always told that it was, you need to provide parking.
Do you have, Mr. Chairman, do you
Sure.
have any opportunity to provide shared parking agreements with any of your abutting neighbors?
We never went that route. I mean, we thought about it, but
It's
We
something
never
to
went
think
that route.
about. Maybe you have somebody that would be willing to work out a deal with you that if you could provide some better space on the bottom floor, this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for the board, maybe you could,
Put a little more commercial space, but do the garages on left side, but those parking spaces are owned by Dean, but maybe you can have a conversation with Dean. And then you could put your car under off the side of the lot, and you'd be backing into a parking lot, not out into Dean Ave. So left side entrance of the underground garage would be suitable for the site. What size building is this?
it's a 3,400 square foot lot.
What size building?
So,
What's the building size?
are you speaking of the footprint of the building?
Overall square footage of the entire building.
Liz, can you help us with that question? I mean, I can answer the footprint of the building, but I'm not sure about the overall square footage.
Yes, give me one moment, please.
Well, I wanna make a comparison to what's there to, you know.
Yeah,
You're
the lot,
basically utilizing the whole 5
We're
feet of
utilizing
lot that's
the-
left behind.
and it's about, I think, just over 7,000 for combined second and third floor above that main level, that first level.
About 22,000 square feet total?
N- No, the total is 7,400 square
Oh,
feet or something.
My apologies.
Yeah,
Above, so it's under 10,000.
okay.
No, go ahead.
and I appreciate the work that's been done for the renderings and the architectural thought that's been put behind it, but in my opinion, I appreciated that you went through a photo collage of all the historic buildings in our downtown, and I was expecting something a little bit different, I guess, when you showed this rendering, is what you showed us were historic buildings. And I think this building might fit somewhere, but I don't know as though it's fits in our downtown. I think you have the similar coloring for the Dean Bank that's next door, but this building at its current height with the buildings near it, it's just, doesn't say downtown Franklin to me, just being honest, but I know it takes a lot of time to do these kind of renderings and the thought put into it. I don't know if it's possible to go back and take a look and really make it more of a historical look, be a little bit more creative in how it's going to fit in this area. And to Jen's point, I mean, this is a transition between our commercial zone and the residential and your abutters. To me, it's just gonna stand out like a sore thumb.
Because
It doesn't
with the
fit.
houses across
Yeah,
the
it
street,
just
they're all
doesn't fit.
Victorians, et cetera, then you have, is that masonry as well?
Liz, can you please
So
respond?
it's a very hard
Like
scape in
even
comparison.
the kind of
Yeah.
narrower bottom with the bigger top to make this work on your site, it just, there's nothing like this in the area,
Yeah.
so.
No.
Formidable.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, Chris, any comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think in agreement with Beth, I think that the commercial piece here seems to be an afterthought, which I thought was consistent with the prior proposal through the zoning board where the commercial was in the basement. Really not engaging in invigorating the commercial corridor. So I think that I echo those similar concerns. If the commercial is a single story, is that the stories above, is that part of that residential unit on that end cap? So are those two end cap units much larger than the center unit? Just trying to understand the scaling a little bit on the residential piece.
Yeah, so that two separate units, completely.
Okay.
Could you Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, could you just, on the rendering, could you show us the division of where the units would fall with those ones? I'm not seeing it either, so is it
They up and down, or they?
Yeah, do you know what I'm asking?
The
Yeah,
units are up and down, yes.
Yeah, like basically use your finger to
It's like a
draw around
townhouse
where
style.
the units
Okay.
are.
I'll try to do my best. I'm not the architect, but maybe Liz can help us.
Just
She's on the call.
three units total, right?
3 units.
3 residential units.
So that looks like a lot more
I
than
believe
three.
this is the first unit, right there. It goes with the garage.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if this window is included in this unit or not. Then this is the second unit, third unit.
Maybe you
and
could just come
it
back to us.
probably expands.
Okay.
Liz, can you help us, please?
I just don't see it.
Oh, you're muted, Liz.
You are muted.
Sorry, I am not there to point. It's 3 townhouses. Each are 2 stories, and they're similar in size. The unit that is closest to Main Street is a little bit larger, a little bit wider, but for the most part, they're very similar.
Thank you.
I also just want to clarify the whole commercial. I don't think what downtown Franklin needs is more offices that are gonna be closed at 5 PM and on the weekends. Right, we need retail space that's gonna attract service-oriented businesses. That's also gonna have, that's gonna help with economic development, right? So I think there should be some real thought put behind, you know, what would a pro forma look like? What, you know, what's enticing from a retail space standpoint? Just more thought behind that street front opportunity to really show or demonstrate that this is within the spirit of downtown Franklin. Also, I don't think in terms, everyone's parking, I don't think we can propose eliminating street parking that's open to the public as a part of this project. Right? I mean, that's, not only is it, if there is no parking on this site, where are those people gonna park? And then you know, you're proposing changing the parking, the public available parking. I think that also needs some thought. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Sure.
For clarification, on your intended, office space, is it going to be considered, is it professional, clerical, kind of administrative, is it leasing office, or is it a?
Yeah, we have a real estate investment development firm, so that would be used for that.
Just to address the, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure.
The site access, this is the only site access we have. This is the site frontage. Yes, I understand the concern about the elimination of the 2 parking spaces in the front, but this is the property's frontage, and denial to site access might be hard to do. I mean, the site is abutted by Dean Ave on 2 sides, and then by a town's property on this side, which also has public parking spaces over there.
Yeah, I understand it's a challenging site. We would love to see this redeveloped, right? It just, what is the right approach to it, and appreciate that, but we'd love to see some more thought.
Yeah.
Such a hard.
It's a hard
You wanna see it
challenge.
redeveloped, but do you need to maximize the site with 3 units? Can you do 2? Can you,
Generate
It just
access
seems
on the left
like-
side
yeah.
of the lot. I mean, your whole storefront is your garage doors. I think
Right.
that's what Beth was getting to. It's taken away from the commercial growth that we're trying to get in the downtown to bring people in, to bring it back to where it was at one point, but, yeah, it's a tough site too, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Mr. Chair, I believe one of the aspects that we're dealing with is financials of this project. So reducing the number of units may not make this project financially feasible. So again, the owner didn't go with like a 4-story building, put 12 units, and asked for parking elimination. So he tried to accommodate everybody and not being too greedy with the development. But at the end of the day, the development has to make financial sense to the developer. Otherwise, it may not develop at all.
Okay. Yeah, so, sounds like you got some homework to do.
Yeah.
I would definitely look at the renderings. I would look at some of the buildings in the general area across the street, old Victorians, maybe with a little bit of a mix. I mean, that matches the bank.
But I don't know if they
Directly
wanted to.
directly across the street, you have the Victorian, and then you have the parking lot, and you have the other Victorian, so, and you have the post office on the corner, but it's a pretty bold statement for that lot, let's put it that way. And not that we're the design review committee, but we're trying to get it, to make it look like it helps the town of Franklin as well. So, what do you think, Amy?
May
The
6th?
Continuation.
Hold on, you have a butter.
Oh,
Yeah.
is there a butter?
There's many people out there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
assuming some
sorry.
of them have
Open it.
comments.
Very
It's
good.
open to anyone in the public.
Go ahead, you can,
You gotta
just
come to the
approach mic,
microphone,
I'm sorry.
please.
I just have a question, like, to the point of, A, I think it looks like a college dorm building. That's what I see when I look at it, but with the windows, like if you've gone through like Philadelphia and looked at college dorms, that's what it looks like. My question with the parking, the garages, I thought it was a state law that you cannot back into a street with a double yellow line. So how are people going to exit? Like, do you intend that everyone's gonna come home and turn around in the middle of the street and pull back into the garage, or? Is my understanding that you can't back into the street?
We brought that up actually, too,
Okay.
yeah. May have slipped through. Yep. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, just approach the mic and give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Kevin Goff. I'm the president of Dean Bank. So, the applicant has come to see us, looked at the project. Generally speaking, we're very in favor of improvement. It's certainly an improvement over what's there today. And as far as their requests for parking, even though it looks like, there's not sufficient parking according to the bylaws or whatever the town, I think they've done a substantial effort to try to add some parking for that unit. Right now, there is no parking at all, and so I appreciate the fact that they've attempted to make some improvements so that it does provide some parking for the use of that unit. And the previous owner was trying to get a much larger project put in there and to use all downtown on-street parking, which we were completely opposed to because we know that our parking lot is going to be the recipient of a lot of those, and so that's why we were opposed to the last projection of project. They've done a good job in trying to, accommodate some parking. There may be still some shortage from that perspective, and I think I've recently noticed that there's been some signs put up prohibiting overnight parking in the downtown area. So that's, something that's to be considered. But anyways, I just want to speak in terms of, we have no objections to the project. I think the design does tie in nicely with what the bank looks like. And I don't have any objection to the way they've put the garages from an aesthetic perspective. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just to clarify, so you're, just backing up on Kevin had said, you're a new ownership group, so you weren't part of the zoning board permitting process?
That's right. We were not.
Okay, so you're the benefit because you acquired it, but you didn't propose the 19 or 16 unit building?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Just want to clarify.
Anybody else? No, if you just want to approach the mic and give your name and address, please.
My name is Brady Banks, and I'm not a resident of Franklin. I'm the contractor for David, though. Is that still eligible to speak?
Okay. Sure. Go ahead.
So we worked really hard on trying to take into consideration that there is no parking. So I just want to know from the board if you're amenable to having no parking and only having street parking, because that kind of creates a bit of a conundrum for us.
Yeah, but we have, regulation states that it's 1.5 parking spaces per unit.
Right.
Because the gentleman from the bank, all the overflow would be in his parking lot.
Right.
If we didn't provide parking for facilities in buildings like this.
Yeah.
It's also about snow removal, it's about safety, it's about cleaning the sidewalk, make sure it's passable. There's a lot involved, that's why we're very staunch sometimes when it comes to parking. We gotta make sure each
Sure.
facility has sufficient parking, so it's not burdening the abutters. Makes a big difference. Commercial's a different story, but the residential end, it gets tricky.
Right.
So that's why parking's always an issue with us.
So just not to ask any questions or anything, but just to make statements, the reason we pushed for more residential opposed to commercial is because commercial bears a larger parking burden on the space, and given that we have no parking to begin with, we tried to increase but also limit as much as we could. The previous applicant was looking for substantial more units. We tried to be respectful of that and bring those units down as much as possible, and really just to provide a space for David to have his business, abiding by the mixed-use portion of that, but trying to also understand that there's no parking available for us to take.
For the commercial, there is, the residential is where it triggers it.
Yep. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All good for now? What?
Sorry, one more comment, sorry. I'm not gonna not be honest about this. I'm really struggling with this project. I think, I don't know as a board how we get through this one, in my own opinion. Because you're already received a lot of waivers to do what you can do, and you can do something even bigger. So what's to say the planning board decides, you know, we don't necessarily like this, and you can come back with a building that's 10 times bigger. So you'll look at something smaller and say, okay, is this a good in between? But then there's still a lot of outstanding issues, parking, you know, do you want more commercial? Then you park on the street commercial more so than you do in a garage for most commercial buildings that you go to. So there is street parking for commercial spaces. But residential, we're required to provide 1.5.
1.5, yeah.
So you've provided at least 3, and that results in providing a building that really is maybe not the best looking for that area. So what do? There's a whole bunch of back and forths, and I understand as a developer that you want to profit and maximize your profits. That's the role, right? That's what you want to do. But in my opinion, that's not really my problem to look at whether you're making money on this project or not. What I want to look at is how is this going to impact our downtown and how it looks. And I'm going to say 100 years from now, because those historic buildings next to you have been there forever. This is going to be here for years to come. So I'd like to see it a project that if we are moving forward with something that's going to be redeveloped there, that is really fantastic for that lot. So I think maybe putting some more thought into it, and we can all come to a in-between of what you could have, what you're showing us, and what would be perfect for right there. And I don't know what that is. I really don't.
Well, maybe you can come back with a couple of ideas, couple renderings, couple different avenues. I really do think possibly the left side entrance into the parking garage would be hugely beneficial for you, if it's feasible, coming in through the side parking lot. You could possibly make some kind of arrangements, then it gives you more flexibility on the Dean Ave facade.
Just to pile on, because that's, probably don't need to, but have you explored, rather than individual owner, you know, own individual garages, having a single garage entry under the building and leaving as much frontage for commercial as possible and tucking the parking?
Yes, we looked at, from the beginning, we looked at multiple concepts and ideas, and the single, we don't have the turnaround radius because it's only, what, 40?
Or a wrapper on the back to leave the commercial in the center frontage as sort of long and continuous as possible. I feel like, at least to scale or looking at the site, I I'd love to see some ideas if you have any more, or can stew on it more.
Jen, were you saying like a one-way drive? Like
Yeah,
a U?
essentially with like parallel parking spots or like angle, I don't know, to test fit and,
Okay,
Just don't know if it does.
anyway, okay.
Amy?
Continue? Yeah, I think, I don't know if you guys want to make a motion to continue to May 20th. I think a lot of advice has been
Yep.
given to the applicant, engineer, and architect.
Yep, okay, so make a motion to continue till May 20th for, excuse me, 19 Dean Ave. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right, our next item of business would be a continued public hearing for Uncas Ave, which is a special permit and site plan application. If I could go to Amy from Department of Planning, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yep, so they were originally given their lots 1 and 2 to move from a duplex to a triplex. This project was approved back in 2014. They're back in here with 7 lots. Just some comments from the last meeting when they were here 2 weeks ago. I know that the board had asked about any possible affordable units, if they were willing, since we've passed inclusionary zoning, and they are within half a mile to the train station. The board also asked for the traffic summary as well. The applicant has provided a letter addressing the affordable units, that they're not in favor at this time, and the plans remain as submitted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to just introduce yourself for the record, please?
Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consultants.
John Walsh, Walsh Brothers Building Company, Walpole, Mass.
Thank you. Okay, I think, well, before I start, I'll go to the board first. Does anybody have any questions or comments in reference to the balance of the lots going from duplexes to triplexes? It's going from 18 units to 27 units.
Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned at the end of last meeting, I feel the density is too great for side street access, tight turns. I think it's too many units.
I would generally agree with Chris, it's gonna be somewhere in between. It's a pattern of everything having to be the biggest and greatest that you can possibly do to maximize every single site. So I think that we just need to really be realistic in what can fit on this site, and what can be supported.
Okay. Jen?
I actually don't have an issue with going from 2 to 3 lots. I think it's close to commercial uses, it's close to downtown. There's plenty of space on the lots for parking and driveway sort of. I think the lots themselves support that type of density. And, we changed our zoning bylaws to encourage more units in this area of town. So I could go either way, but I personally am okay with it.
Can I just ask, is there any possibility of, instead of all of the units having to be a triplex, that maybe half of them are? You have a mix?
I guess that anything's a possibility. I would say that we watched the process closely as the town of Franklin went through their discussions with the planning board and the town council about rezoning this property from duplexes to triplexes. We saw unanimous support from the council, unanimous support from this board. originally floated a trial balloon with 2 lots. The reason we did 2 rather than 1 was because we had proposed a common driveway, so we thought it was more important to show 2. But we did come in, we showed all the drainage, we showed that the traffic impact is negligible, if even calculable. We've had support of 1 town council member who said this is exactly what the town of Franklin was proposing. And it's what the zoning allows now, and it's what we thought we wanted. That being said, I mean, we'd like to, if it's zoned for 3 units, we'd like to use our property as is allowed under the special permit.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we could always go back to duplexes, but
Well, yeah.
I just wish, to be perfectly honest, I wish somebody had said it in the first meeting, rather than.
Well, you
we've had
presented it as just a trial run in the first 2, that's why we gave it to you. And we did ask if you were gonna go full-blown, and we're not
everything.
sure yet, so.
No, I disagree. All of the calculations were based on triplexes, and we said we would come back. I don't think we ever said that we're gonna do a mixed use.
No, meaning you were gonna do the first 2 lots, do a test run, see if the board was amendable, and then come back with the balance of the lots. That's where it became a little bit
Right,
of a
right.
hinge point.
Right.
Because now you got the first 2 that we gave you the okay on.
Right.
We just wanted, we're not gonna make a decision based on 2 lots for 9 lots. That's all. So
Right.
it's a substantial jump. You're going from 18 units to 27 units. That's a pretty good jump. That's all. And you
Right, no, I
originally
understand.
had what?
Yeah.
55 and older at one point in time. This
We had
thing's been
20.
kicking around for like 15 years. Yeah, we'd like to come to a conclusion to it, but we're gonna make sure it's amendable too. Well, before we, let me go to the audience first. Does anybody in the audience have any comments or questions? And if you do, just approach the mic and give your name and address, please. And if you could, just, if we've already heard them, we just wanna make sure we can, new stuff too, if you can.
It's somewhat the same.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair and board members, my name is Chris Maccheroni. I'm a resident in that neighborhood. I, like many of my fellow neighbors who have spoken at various meetings, and understand and realize that something inevitably is going to be built on Uncas Ave Extension. We all remember hearing back around 2008 and 14 of the senior community, over 55, to be built up there. And we were determined long before this board, and this was determined long before this board. Even back then, we had concerns about an increase in traffic volume from this development, and to avoid the congestion at East Central, Chestnut, and King Street, excuse me. But here we are again, with them coming back to ask for the approval of 27 units due to the bylaw change. At the meeting on the 25th, you asked if there could be some affordable, and they weren't acceptable to that. And so what I'm asking for is that we go back to maybe just the 22, a mixture of duplexes and triplexes, if we could. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, just approach the mic and give your name and address, please.
Catherine Tower, 54 King Street. I just had a question regarding the updated traffic study. I thought we had requested a review of the traffic study at the last meeting. I didn't see that in the
Came back
correspondence
through.
that was passed.
Amy, if you could, I believe it came back through,
Yeah.
the updated one.
Did I put it on the website? I don't have the website in front of me.
I believe beta.
Yeah, and there wasn't any impact on it.
Going from the 2 to the 3.
Okay, because in speaking last week with the engineer after the meeting, he mentioned that there is parking for 3 cars at each unit. That's 81 potential cars in that development, and you were still saying that only 6 are gonna enter and leave during the peak hours? That doesn't seem feasible. That's 2 houses having 2 parents working outside the house and a child driving to high school. That
Just It's like having a four-bedroom house, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
may get
but-
more, you may get more traffic out of a
I have
four-bedroom house.
I have 4 cars in
That's
my
what I mean,
house.
so you gotta
So-
be careful what you wish for too, you know?
But I'm just saying, like,
That's the
81
kicker.
cars, 6 people, 6
Yep.
cars leaving doesn't make sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, a four-bedroom house may produce more traffic than a duplex. Cause now you have one bedroom, two bedroom, and the kids are younger generally, so they're not, driving age, so there's that fine line you think about.
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, right, so the duplexes we allowed by right, but the triplexes are special permit, right?
Correct.
Correct, okay, so I just need to process for a minute.
Okay. Would you, and I'm just throwing it out there, would you be amendable to go, well, you said either duplexes, go like 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, and then put an affordable housing in there? Because everybody's putting affordable in and around these areas, so by special permit, it's one of the things that, I mean, you just watched it and saw it. There was 2 units right at the street. There's, 3 units across the street, there's gonna be a few more right behind you. You know, you're going 18 to 27 units without an affordable in there. I think it's a working relationship. You get a couple extra units and you get an affordable for the town to make it workable, you know?
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, I'm not interested in putting affordables up there. It just complicates things too much. I watched the hearings and it was specifically discussed with this board that affordables would not be required in that zone. And we're only asking to use the regulations as they've been drafted.
Well, the affordables we're falling within the MBTA, half a mile zone, MBTA. Everybody, and I'm just trying to be fair, everybody else is incorporating them in their own. And you're doing a jump from 18 units potentially to 27 units without an affordable. I just don't think that's fair to the rest of the abutters and developers in the area doing it, that's all. So I'm trying to make it fair for everybody else. You wanna go back to duplexes, I'm fine with that too. Keep the first two as 3-family, and then keep the rest as 2 families.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, this is beyond the half-mile MBTA required, I just want to clarify. This
No,
isn't
it's within,
It's not within half a mile
of the train
Point
station.
5.
Huh?
It's 0.5. Well,
from what measurement point? I
From
know
the
it's within
measuring-
Half a mile to the train.
from the lot line to the MBT. That's how we measure, and that's how we measure 230
Yeah.
from the lot line
That's why we have it.
to the property line to the MBTA line, the
Okay, I
property
didn't
line.
realize
That's
that.
how
I
they
thought-
measure it.
I thought it was beyond the,
No, and that's how 230
Gotcha.
across the street
Gotcha.
was measured.
gotcha,
So,
okay.
what's the board's thoughts? Keep the first 3 on the 2 that we've already approved and the balance of 2, or you wanna go back to 2 on everything? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, we're gave the okay in the first.
I mean, I'll leave it up to the board. We have the first 2 permits. It's very disappointing that at this point you kind of flip the switch. I'll have to, if they're denied, but again, we do have 7 individual submissions. This is not one parcel. This is not they're all individual house lots. So if the board denies here, I'll weigh my options and maybe lick my wounds, or we'll see. But I just wish perhaps the board had said before we spent tens of thousands of dollars on traffic studies, repeatedly repeating the same thing, that the board's really not in favor of triplexes in a zone that's zoned for triplexes.
In the board's defense, you came back twice for it, so just let it be known that you came in front of us looking for relief for the first 2, and that you're gonna come back for the balance.
Right.
We assessed our balance on this meeting right now, in the previous one. So I just wanna make sure,
Understood.
if it came in as a whole shot initially right out of the gate, yeah, then you got something to complain about. But I think where it came in 2 pieces, we had to evaluate it based on the 2 separate
Understood.
approaches, that's all.
Just want to comment on that as well. I believe that when you were before us, we were looking at it as strictly the 2 units, and that's what we had to do. But if you remember, I did ask for a traffic study for the whole, because you can't evaluate 2 when you're gonna have more. I did express a concern at that point in time for potentially going to all triplexes. So I don't think that we didn't express to you that we had concern about that, so that's not, we weren't all here like this is wonderful,
Okay.
yay. So, with that being said, I don't disagree that this is an opportunity to provide some additional units, whether you stick with the duplexes or you move to a mix of triplexes. I don't know as though triplexes all the way are the way to go in this site. I guess a question on when you say that it wasn't intended that affordable units would be needed in this zone, can you clarify that comment, or maybe Amy, is it not, isn't it just housing in general if they're multifamilies? I don't understand that comment, I guess,
For,
for the affordable units.
Like, what is the
MBTA doesn't require you to have affordable, they can, is that correct?
so,
You
so,
can.
well, it doesn't apply to this situation because they are individual lots. If they were one lot combined,
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
within 0.5, 10% would be, actually, it would reduce it to a 3-2 vote versus a 4-1 vote for special permit. So, but given that these are all individual lots, there are technically no requirements. However, he does need the majority 4-1 vote for every single lot that he's applied for.
makes
That
sense
being the difference. You know, I think that, you know, something to consider, he's had this for 10 years now, hasn't been in any building yet. I don't know how long it's gonna be held on to for even longer. Be maybe important to start the building soon, or if this is important, is to start the construction and the housing that's needed in town. That given said, that could be a special condition as well, that something starts immediately and so many lots be built in certain timeframes. But I do agree with the comments made about affordable housing because the state is throwing it down on every single town. We need it. 1 or 2 units. I mean, being able to increase, you have the choice of building, 18 units versus 27. So out of the 9, the 2, you're still talking making a decent profit. I mean, at a 3-bedroom unit, they're starting off at anywhere from $320 to $350 for an affordable. So, I leave the determination up to the board on how they want to decide this or think about it or go about it. But those are just some things. It is a special permit, and it is completely up to the planning board's choice.
I also just want to add that the commentary, I think, in the response to that request was about it not being, financially feasible due to the sprinkler requirements. Sprinklers are only required if you go to a 3-bedroom unit. So that's sort of like you're making your own bed there. You don't need sprinkler for duplexes.
Right.
So that's,
Triplex
but
triggers
triplex
it.
triggers it. So if you want triplexes, if, to Amy's point, like 9 triplexes, a couple of those are affordable versus, a lot less units total.
I guess what I'm trying to point out is there's a lot of incurred expense to go from a duplex to a triplex, and that's a factor. To add a sprinkler system to each building, I'm not saying it's not self-inflicted because we go from 2 to 3, but it's an expense.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, we have been seeing overall a lot more density on even just one of these lots in some previous projects. I personally think duplexes, triplexes, this scale, this magnitude, and this type of street in this area of town is what the town is looking for, what we're hearing from residents as a type of housing options, or the middle housing, the missing middle, if you will. I would fully support it. I would like to see consideration for affordable unit.
You guys want to think about it? whether you wanna do duplexes, you wanna do triplexes, and maybe get an affordable or 2 units in there, and just, or go back to duplexes. We don't have to make a decision tonight, you know. It's, I mean, and I don't wanna put you on the,
Is there an option for a mix?
well, and that was gonna be my other comment. It could be an option of a mix too. You could go 3-2, 3-2, 3-2. You could mix them up that way too. So, gives you an option to think about it, is what I'm getting to. And I'm not, I don't wanna put you behind the 8 ball
Yeah.
for an answer right now. You're gonna wanna think about it.
Well, to Amy's point, you know, we were hoping to get going up there.
Well, you can on the first two.
Yeah, we can on the first two.
So I would say,
I can say with certainty that we're not going to offer affordables. I'd rather go back to the duplexes. Prefer not to do duplexes, we'd probably explore any options available to us to, now that we've gone down this road, we could see how that plays out over the next couple of years.
Okay.
I don't want to see this project dead in the water because we're not going to be able to get a compromise on 2 affordable units. You have duplexes, and if I'm hearing you correctly, you're gonna go back to the drawing board and look at whether you can actually do the duplexes, or are you going to maybe put something bigger there? Or just not build it in 2 years from now, when it's already been sitting for 10 years. So my question, I guess, is where can we get to a middle ground that works for everybody? Can you give us one affordable? Can you do a mix of triplexes and duplexes, so we get a project done here? I mean, where are we going?
What would the
How are we gonna
board-
sit here?
Assuming that I'm not interested in doing affordables, the complexity of it on a triplex lot or a duplex lot. I mean, what would the board submit a proposal? What would you consider for a combination of duplexes and triplexes? What would be reasonable?
Every other building?
3 and 4?
I'm not sure.
3 and 4. You have 7 you're talking about, right?
Yep.
4 triplexes, 3 duplexes?
I think that would be a compromise that I personally would be willing to look at. It's a shame that we can't get at least one affordable unit, that it's more of a hassle to you to do than it would be a community service to do. And to me, that's disappointing to hear. But you're the developer, this is your property, we can't force you to do it. But I would like to see.
Respectfully, I'm just following the rules that you guys have just voted in.
I understand that.
If you
I
wanted
understand that.
affordables, I would have seen it and evaluated it.
And that's why I'm communicating to you. I understand what you're saying. We can't force you to do that. In my opinion, we can't force them.
No, but I think as a compromise to the town, the benefit you're gaining, the town can benefit a little bit on the other side too. It's a working relationship, that's all.
No,
Just trying to
I
meet the
get
middle
it.
of the road. So let's do this. Why don't you guys think about, maybe come back with a couple of renditions? Maybe lot 2 has a 2 and a 3, and a 2 and a 3, or 2s.
Well,
Just-
would you wanna go 4 and 3?
I'd be
How's
okay
the
with
rest
that.
of the board feel with that?
So there's already 2 approved triplexes,
There's already 2, correct.
and we would say 4 more triplexes,
And
Oh,
how,
no.
and no
Or
affordables?
switch it,
No,
or do
no, we
3
already got,
triplexes and 4
4
do.
total.
4
Well, that math
triplexes
doesn't work
total.
out.
That's
That's
how many,
what
that
we
doesn't
said.
equal
There's
9.
9.
Are we
No,
saying
no,
5 and
you already
4?
got 2,
Yeah, there's
and then the rest will be
5,
duplexes.
6, 7, 8, 9, there's 9.
So you're saying
So
4
four-
total
four-
duplexes out of the 9, I mean 4 total triplexes out of the 9?
Correct.
5 duplexes?
Correct.
Okay, so not 4 and 3 on the 7
Correct.
permits for tonight?
Because there's already 2 on the books.
Okay,
So what's the number?
he's saying 4
4
triplexes
triplexes
total and 5
and
duplexes.
5 duplexes.
Mr. Chairman, I think I just prefer a vote.
Do what you-
A vote up and down on the 7 filings.
you wanna know if the board is
So you wanna
supporting,
close the hearing?
supportive of.
Close the
Close-
hearing and vote.
Close the
Do you want
hearing and we'll vote at next
a poll vote, or
meeting.
do you want us to close the hearing and vote?
Close and vote.
Vote next
Well,
meeting.
We
I'm not
we
ready to
don't
do that
close and
tonight.
vote at the same
Close and
time, so
vote
we'll
next
close and then we can vote.
If but we don't have revised plans, so if we're going to go down a road where we're showing.
We need the revised plans.
Just, we want this to vote on this
No,
plan.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm not going to revise them, I'd rather just have a
You
vote.
want all
We can't,
triplexes.
we can't vote on what you've submitted, because you submitted all triplexes.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm
you can-
getting at.
You can vote.
That's what he
Do you
wants.
want us to vote on the all triplex plan? You're
Yes.
not willing to go back and look at a mix of duplexes and triplexes?
Yeah, I'm not interested
Okay.
in 4 and 5. It's,
Okay,
I'd rather just have an up and down vote on the triplexes and then I'll reevaluate, bring some closure.
Can we just close the hearing tonight and vote
Yeah.
next time?
yeah.
You sure you don't want to think about that?
I've thought about this thing for years.
I'm
It
sure
just-
you have.
Back to this board many times.
Once you close it, that's it.
I
The
understand.
next one's
All right,
closed.
we have one comment from, audience on Zoom.
Mr. Frangillo, got a comment?
Yeah, I imagine you can anticipate my comments. I mean, what an opportunity we have to bring affordable units to Franklin. We talk about this a lot. There are multiple buckets of affordable. There's the capital A affordable housing 40B projects. Those are expensive and they are difficult for developers. It is unreasonable for us to expect that that can pencil out and be financeable on a project-by-project basis. But there's also lowercase a affordable houses, which are smaller units that are available at price points that budding young professionals like myself can afford to buy into. And we have very, very few of those available in Franklin. A triplex, even relative to a duplex, never mind relative to a single family, is way more affordable immediately, right? The rent of the triplex is much more affordable than the rent of a duplex, which is much more affordable than the rent or mortgage on a single family. These are the types of units that are being called for by residents, by young residents, by old residents, by people who can't afford to live in Franklin. And how lovely it is that we have so many right next to our downtown being proposed. I think that this is a chance to really hit it out of the park, a great chance for Franklin to welcome the exact type of missing middle housing that we've been talking about to meet our housing needs, to bring people within distance of our downtown and not add them all to our traffic because they're within walking distance of basic amenities. I mean, this is it. So I just hope that we seize this opportunity to welcome a positive housing type within our downtown. Thank you for your.
If I could provide a comment to Kobe's. Kobe, were you able to review the letter provided by Welch Brothers Building Company dated March 26th about the affordable unit request?
I believe so. I think that was sent around to everyone.
So the number of buyers greatly increases our achieved price point. We think the market is around $600,000 range when the duplex units may sell for $850,000. While $600K is not close to the price of an affordable unit per the state, it is an affordable unit unique to today. I'm not so sure I agree with that statement. $600,000 is not affordable for many people. And I'm not talking the capital A or lowercase a, however you want to say it, or 40B or whatnot. I think getting one affordable unit is not an undertaking that's too much to ask.
I mean, it quite literally is, right? They're the ones looking at the numbers and telling us that it can't work. If they can make money and have it be an automatic project that gets passed, of course they would do it. Of course they would. So that we don't get to decide that. We don't get to decide whether a project pencils out, and we certainly don't get to ask a developer to take a loss on a project. What they do think pencils out is a type of housing, as we talk about, like starter homes, in ways for, again, people like me. I'm looking for this exact property. I looked in this neighborhood at a small single family that was like $450,000, $400,000. Those are the types of places that allow people on starting salaries to even buy in, because nothing else around is even close to that. Yes, it's an absurd market. Yes, those are still absurd numbers, but those are the available starting homes to people like me. And I think that, we should embrace them when they come before us. We don't get them all the time.
We could definitely go back and forth on this for hours, Kobe, I know we could. But there's still, I think, in my opinion, the developer can make something work if they want to make it work. That's just my opinion. But like I said, I don't want to see this project going down in flames and there's nothing provided. So I'm hoping the applicant would reconsider their request to close the hearing tonight and really think about a compromise. We can make something work.
Yeah. I'd say go, just take a peek, sit back, think about it.
Okay.
And then, obviously, we're all amendable to something, it's just the compromise what we wanna come to, so. And I don't want you leaving here all hell bent. It's a matter of us just coming to a compromise, I think, alright? So it's you giving a little bit, and we giving a little bit, alright? So I'm gonna make a motion to continue this to the next meeting. You guys can come up with a couple different renditions,
With that being said, Mr. Chairman, if we come back to the next meeting and the applicant decides they don't want to do anything, can we vote and close the same meeting?
I think we will vote to close it and vote it that night.
April 22nd. That's the next meeting.
Okay, so I make a motion to continue Uncas Ave special permit and site plan application to April 22nd. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you,
Thank you. Good
gentlemen.
night.
What else? Okay. Looks like we're coming upon our last item of business tonight, which would be continued public hearing for Maplegate Solar South. If I could go to Amy, Department of Planning, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So last time, let's see, they were here, the fire department letter had come in late, so I did include it in this packet that the fire department is satisfied with it. There was a request that the decommission plan have an increase of, for the inflation to 4%, which I know they agreed, but I have not seen that draft yet. I believe they got conservation approval Thursday night. I had already submitted this letter, so, okay, so the conservation is all set, and plans are as they as, and I think Beta, and our town engineer is satisfied with what's been submitted.
Okay, good, thank you. Mike, DPW, Mike, I haven't gone to you very much tonight, but any questions or comments?
No, Mr. Chairman, in our past comments have been addressing this, we had nothing outstanding, just the issue the board discussed last meeting.
Okay. I know Beta's not here, I can't recollect if there was anything left on the agenda for them.
No, I think they were pretty much.
I think they were pretty much wrapped up as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, Greg DeBona from Bowler. It was a 12-page letter, but 98% of that was just relisting all the correspondence we've had back and forth, and with a lot of final comments that say no further comments or comments have been addressed. So we're in good shape. There were two items that I think are very minor. They're just two notes we're going to add to the plan, which I think I can easily say we'll agree to the recommendations that Beta put in there. One was about an aeration note. So when you put in the seed for landscaping, you aerate first. So not a problem. That was actually the recommendation that our landscape architect responded back to. So he said, just add that note to the plan. So he said, no problem. And then on our cross section of the gravel road, it already says minimum slope of 2%. We revised the grading to less than 2%, but they just recommend that we add another note on our detail just to make sure it's very clear that no cross slope would be less than 2%. So these are really kind of very minor, like construction level detail things that we would add to the drawings, and that's it.
Okay, all right, and I saw you cleared Concom the other night. So
We did, yes.
step, yep. I just had the one quick question, it would be for Amy. Lot 2, Are we all set with the access and,
So-
I know there was gonna be an easement from the adjoining property for fire department, et cetera, but
There'd be no development, so I mean, I listed as a special condition is that parcel 2 will remain undeveloped. There won't be any access, any public access from either town. For that, the fire department will have access via, National Grid easement to get to parcel 3. And I think they can get to parcel 2 as well, but, parcel 2 will remain as is undeveloped. And I recommended that as a special condition if
Okay.
the board makes a decision on it.
Okay. Anybody from the board, any comments or questions?
No,
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead, just introduce
Hi,
yourself.
sorry,
please.
Attorney Peter Brown on behalf of the applicant. I just had a suggested language for parcel 2 that I think meets what you and the planner were speaking of, that I just thought I'd throw out there, which would be applicant agrees not to expand and extend the solar arrays onto parcel 2, which will remain open space.
Okay, no structures, anything of such, basically non-buildable,
Appurtenant to the land,
to that specific.
in perpetuity.
Yep. Okay, Amy?
Yep. I mean,
That covers you guys?
I'm all set.
Covers us?
Yeah,
And I
I think
believe-
that's probably the best we can do with what we
Yeah.
can control for right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Yep.
Could you just read that one more time, Mr. Chairman? Sorry,
Sure.
just to make sure we get it right.
Sure. I'll read what I said, and then, Mr. Chair, if you want to add to it.
Yeah, you wanna go one more time?
Sure. Hang on 1 second.
You had it in
Well,
front of
you
you,
can
I don't
send
have
an
it in front of me.
I do. I have it right here.
That's
And I will
cheap.
send it an email. Applicant agrees not to expand and extend the solar arrays onto parcel 2, which will remain open space.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
And non-buildable. Okay. That's it. Anybody in the audience? Anybody in Zoom land? Any comments, questions? No? Okay,
Make a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Want to just vote on this one? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You wanna?
Yep.
Well, I was gonna make sure.
The
that
only
you had
outstanding
some
item
comments.
was getting the surety bond, up to 4%, but you could put that into special
I was
conditions.
gonna say, can we make that a special
You can
condition?
make, yeah, just
Yeah.
say the surety bond, has to be increased by, to a 4% inflation.
That's cool, yep.
Yes.
Burnham.
So make a motion to approve the Maple Gate South Solar Site Plan with the special conditions as follows. Applicant shall enter into a monetary agreement pilot as the sole discretion of administration in the town of Franklin prior to commencement of the construction. A surety bond, with the amount to be determined through, a surety company shall be issued by, acceptable to the town of Franklin prior to commencement of construction. Bond must include tree replanting plan. So on that condition, just working with appropriate town staff.
With an increase of 4%.
With an increase of
4%,
4%, and then, per year. And then open space, the applicant agrees that the open space shall, let's see if I get this right, that no expand or extending of the solar array structures onto parcel 2 will remain non-buildable and, open space. Close enough. And then, I guess, any outstanding comments from Beta's letters or any other town letters, just incorporating those into final plans prior to endorsement.
In fire department,
And
we'll
fire
just make sure
department paving.
fire department's last, regrading or staying consistent.
Including the memo provided by the fire
Fire
department
department,
dated,
April 3rd,
April 3rd.
2024. From Joe Barberry, Deputy Chief.
that's my motion.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
you're all set.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good, Amy?
Good.
Mr. Chairman, just a note, I
Sure.
know for the Uncas Ave, I think Mark had recused,
He did.
just to make a note that
Yep.
he did. Yep.
Yep.
Again, thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be in touch when it's time for the pre-con.
Yep.
But we're excited to get moving forward on both north and south. So thank you.
When do you plan on starting?
It's a great question. I have to find out.
Do I get a chance of playing one more round before you
Yes,
guys
yes,
wipe
the
it out?
Course is open, I believe now, right? They just opened up
Friday.
Monday, and, well, it's just today.
Yeah.
So they're back open. I imagine they'll be open the rest of this season. Yeah. And, we will be, still in front of, Bellingham later this week. What we expect that.
Okay, just
wrapped up.
keep us posted if something should arise.
Yeah, we do expect, Tom's coming through on Wednesday, and by court set up on Thursday.
Okay,
So,
good, thank you.
Thank you all again for.
Appreciate all your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Want to make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
See, you'll make the game.
Go, go.